the conservatives didn't have an artist that maybe they liked, so instead of just saying, okay, not our day, let's go do something else.
It's just another day in America, and once again the MAGA right wing is in full meltdown mode, outraged, offended, and dramatically clutching their pearls over the Super Bowl like clockwork, as today we dive into clips from Phillip's show where the reaction to the game clearly struck a nerve with the usual crowd, and as always, the response is loud, emotional, and completely over the top. So we'll break down what was said on the panel, look at how the conversation unfolded, and I'll share my own perspective on the spectacle as it plays out. So let's get into it together.
For weeks, conservatives complained about the choice of Bad Bunny as the performer, and President Trump predictably says he was not impressed. He called it, quote, absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever, and an affront to American greatness. But you didn't hear Bad Bunny mention ICE, he didn't mention immigration. Instead, he celebrated his Puerto Rican roots, and he ended the show by marching out to a parade of flags with these words on the big screen: the only thing more powerful than hate is love. Now, before spiking the football at the end, with these 4 words emblazoned on it, it said, together we are America. Well, heartwarming, right? I don't know. I mean, I guess this whole thing has been perplexing to me. I mean, conservatives, I'm sure they don't like a lot of the halftime performers, but popular music is popular music. And if you don't like it, just go watch something else.
Yeah, there
don't complain about it.
Plenty of things you could be doing instead. I didn't find it super objectionable in comparison to previous halftime shows. It was pretty much equal level of outrage, except there wasn't any outrage, if you want to call, provocative dancing. That was probably the maximum that you could really muster. As far as the America is not great criticism from Trump, maybe he took the Bad Bunny line about, everything is America, or, God bless America, and then he lists like all of the Latin American and Central American countries. But honestly, I don't think that's objectionable either, because I think what that is just a unifying message. And I think most Americans just took it at its artistic performance value, which was family-friendly, actually family-focused.
There was a wedding that happened.
One of the biggest performers in the world. 3 of the top 10 songs are his. He's an incredible international performer. America, he's a part of America, right? He's Puerto Rican, he's a part of America. This is an opportunity to introduce that part of the culture to a lot of people who never saw it before. I think he did it in a phenomenal way. He made sure the background of Puerto Rico was displayed. It was a chance for us to learn about America and our fellow Americans, and it really should be no controversy.
First of all, it was really just a fantastic show.
Oh, so happy.
It was like watching a movie set, as he moved through the entire show. But we also are having all this anxiety about whether or not it was American. We've had U2, we've had Celine Dion, we've had Coldplay. We've had a lot of international acts with people who literally were not Americans, and nobody cares.
I think 2 things are true at the same time. Number one, I think the conservatives, some of whom are saying this was the worst thing in the world, including the president, I completely disagree. It wasn't the worst thing. It's also not the best Super Bowl halftime show we've ever seen. Some of the praise of it has been over the top to also make political points. And, to your point, there were a lot of people who did leave and didn't watch. They watched Kid Rock, which was also something that was happening at the time. They competed really well, I think, given it was a YouTube-only event. And Kid Rock was mocked, and conservatives were mocked for doing that. So they did do what you said.
It was bad lip syncing.
Only because it was kind of like
it was a response.
The conservatives didn't have an artist that maybe they liked, so instead of just saying, okay, not our day, let's go do something else. There's all this. There's a lot of insulting happening of the Super Bowl. Jake Paul says, turn off this halftime show. Or a fake American citizen performing who publicly hates America. I cannot support that. Kid Rock, this is today. Here's what he said about the Super Bowl halftime production.
Nothing against Jay-Z. I respect him for his hustle and his music, but it seems like there's a little bit of a DEI hire there going on,
I don't know. I mean, that's the stuff.
And that's not it can't be about his music.
I mean, I mean, if you want to put DEI on the table, right? If this is about merit, I mean, Jay-Z and his career runs laps around Kid Rock.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we even talking about here?
And
It
even
seems like cultural resentment. And it doesn't seem necessary.
It's the reactionary culture that I think is so insufferable to so many Americans. And if you want to really take the Kid Rock lyrics, you want to take the Bad Bunny lyrics, I mean, come on, it's like a whole nother level. And that's coming from a conservative who's like, this is outrageously
there was a
vulgar.
piece of Kid Rock's lyric where he's talking about underage girls that was highlighted a couple days ago.
And the thing about, you didn't have to speak Spanish to know what he was saying, right? And it was so joyful. It was so upbeat. It was so young kids and people getting married and, iconic.
But even if it wasn't, you don't like the music.
I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't hate the performance.
Even if it wasn't, you don't like the music, it doesn't make it un-American. One, America doesn't have a national language. language, right? And so if he spoke Spanish, he spoke Spanish. He's Puerto Rican, he speaks Spanish to Puerto Rican.
It should be an event that
but
brought
imagine
people
being so
together.
bigoted that you think, I don't like this music, so it's un-American.
Right.
Well,
Imagine
I don't
being
think
so
he
bigoted
said.
about
I don't
that.
think Bad Bunny set himself up for success, though. He tainted his future performance by his anti-ICE activism that nobody asked for.
Or he elevated his
repeatedly.
stature.
He
Or
set
he
himself up for
elevated
success by
himself.
being
No,
the
it's-
top-selling artist right now in the world. He has
But that's
3 songs
why
in the
so many
top 10.
Americans, I think,
That's why
tuned
he's in the
out. They
Super Bowl.
tuned out because they anticipated an anti-law enforcement screed when they would have just
didn't
wanted a
happen.
performance, which didn't happen.
Which didn't happen.
You're right,
So
but that's why you don't
why
use
the
that stage
continued
for that.
hatred of him.
And they had
And by
great
the way, Kid
radio
Rock,
performance.
No, honestly,
it
Kid
didn't
Rock
happen.
just did an
I was
anti-woke screed, right? when they had,
Yes,
they had the
and
conversation.
he's getting criticized by the left
You
for
were
it.
Because the
saying-
artists
you were
are
saying
able
that there
to be able to
is
say what they
cringe.
want.
resentment.
Both are
What do you
cringe.
mean by
Yeah,
that?
I think the left has had control over entertainment for a while, and we just haven't seen conservative values at this, exposed to the same level. We just haven't. And part of that is, outside of country music, you don't have a whole lot of outspoken conservatives in media. We just don't have in entertainment media. We don't.
But
And I
isn't
think
that like
Abby Phillip makes an excellent point here, and it's exactly the argument I want to highlight as well, because what makes this so ironic is that right-wingers constantly brand themselves as champions of the free market, always saying, let the market decide. Yet the moment the market does not choose their favorites, they suddenly abandon that principle completely. Take Jason Rantz, who in my view is easily one of the more insufferable regular guests on Abby Phillip's CNN panel, and that is saying something considering figures like Scott Jennings and Ben Ferguson also appear frequently, but Rantz brings his own special level of smug energy to the table, and what really drives the frustration on the right is simple. People just do not like their opinions, as Bad Bunny is massively popular because audiences around the world choose to support him, which means he won in the very free market conservatives claim to worship. And it was not some DEI scheme that manufactured his success. Because even if an executive somewhere had preferred him over a white performer for diversity reasons, that alone would never be enough to turn someone into one of the biggest global stars on the planet, since that kind of popularity only happens when millions of people genuinely connect with the music. What we are seeing now is MAGA figures lashing out because they are not as culturally dominant as they once were, and instead of accepting that tastes evolve and audiences move on, they frame disagreement as oppression and act as though criticism equals tyranny, when in reality, what they seem to want is a kind of reverse DEI where artists like Kid Rock or some country singer crooning about beer, tractors, and pickup trucks get artificially boosted to the same level as someone like Bad Bunny, not because the public demanded it but because it fits their cultural comfort zone. And the deeper frustration is that the era when older white male voices automatically controlled the spotlight is fading. Audiences are gravitating toward different stories and different sounds, and rather than adapting to that shift, MAGA world is reacting with anger because it cannot accept that the culture no longer revolves around them.
Finally came out and said, I'm not comfortable speaking out as a conservative. And I think we have going on right now with Nicki Minaj, who's getting attacked over this very issue.
Most artists don't speak out about politics. They're successful.
One way or the other.
Successful.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
They're
agree.
successful on
Yeah,
their
that's the
fandom,
point.
on whether
And
people
Bad
love their
Bunny
music,
wasn't
whether
chosen
they
for
are
his
producing
politics.
things that are
Correct.
good.
But there's
So
a
I mean,
bullying culture.
I don't believe that any artist should be judged on their politics. But if it is, in fact,
Depends
that
on the politics.
right-leaning artists are just simply not producing the art that people want to consume, isn't that just merit?
No,
Playing
because
itself
whether
out?
or not someone feels
Because they're not
comfortable
allowed to be
speaking
right.
out in
I'm
favor of
talking
their
about putting
conservative
aside.
values.
I'm talking about putting aside their.
People absolutely have the right to speak their minds, and the First Amendment protects them from being jailed or physically attacked for their opinions, but it does not guarantee applause, loyalty, or an audience. You are free to say what you believe, but no one is required to buy your albums, watch your shows, or support your brand simply because you spoke. MAGA figures often act as if a lack of support equals oppression, demanding forced equality where everything must be equally embraced, but popularity is determined by audience choice, not entitlement. If fans prefer an artist like Bad Bunny over Kid Rock, it's not a conspiracy, it's the marketplace at work. Likewise, if a performer expresses political views and fans withdraw support, that is consumer choice, not censorship. MAGA supporters often act as if they have a right not to be offended, treating any disagreement as an attack, yet while they are free to speak, everyone else has the same right to disagree or express disapproval. To them, this pushback becomes tyranny or evidence of being silenced, even though their platform remains intact. Ironically, many of these same voices previously mocked safe spaces on college campuses, yet now they seek their own protected bubble, demanding comfort and insulation while denying others the same freedom to challenge or critique their views.
Music, on the art, on the acting.
But do you think that there is closer to a 50-50 in artists who are conservative versus liberals, or do you think that?
No, you're missing the point.
yeah.
Bad Bunny wasn't
They're
chosen
clearly not.
because of his politics. He was chosen because he's a good
He's
artist.
huge.
He just
Yeah,
happened to have views you
agree.
don't agree with.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm not, no one here is
so you
saying
acknowledge he's talented, right?
Of course he's talented. I don't think he was chosen for his politics necessarily. I do think it was chosen in the context of the political world that we're now living in.
Chosen for the Super Bowl specifically?
Yeah, you're highlighting.
But I'm talking about the fact that he is one of the most, if not the most popular musician on the planet.
Right now.
That was before he was talking about ICE, before he was talking about any of this stuff.
Yes, but they were also concurrent because he was also going after ICE. He's been going after ICE for a while.
This was before Donald Trump was president.
Yeah.
Before ICE. Bad Bunny was a massive music star globally.
Yes. He brought
that has nothing to do with
the reason why he got on the attention of conservatives who expressed some reservations was because of his political stances in a context in which conservative viewpoints generally not put on display.
You're right that that's the reason that conservatives started paying attention to him. That is not the reason that he is a massive star.
Yeah,
he is a massive star.
I don't know anyone's
You're right. The reason he was actually chosen is because Roger Goodell wants the NFL to go global and he wants to expand into the Latin America markets.
Bingo.
That's why he's chosen.
That's capitalism.
Right.
Jason Rantz highlights the irony of what many MAGA supporters seem to want. If artists like Bad Bunny or Taylor Swift achieve massive success simply because audiences connect with them, then a conservative counterpart should automatically receive the same spotlight and popularity, regardless of genuine demand. Conservatives often claim the media favors the left, yet executives and platforms like Fox News already cater to right-leaning audiences. If they truly believed in the free market, they could create conservative music, films, and shows and let them compete. The challenge, however, is that creative communities naturally attract boundary-pushing, experimental artists, while conservatism emphasizes preserving tradition, which creates an inherent tension between innovative art and a movement focused on maintaining the status quo. The core issue, as highlighted here, is that some MAGA commentators, like Jason Rantz, frame audience preferences as unfair treatment rather than simply a reflection of taste. They imagine a perfectly balanced cultural landscape where voices they agree with must always receive the same promotion and acclaim as those they oppose. But that is not how the free market or real life works. Abby Phillips points out the simple solution: if you don't like something, change the channel. Yet for this crowd, that is never enough. They want guaranteed cultural dominance and equal exposure at all times. And when audiences prefer a different voice, they perceive it as oppression rather than natural disagreement.